at Sonny Styles, is that a guy that you feel like we have to find a starting role for him? I was asking Coach Day about this as well. Is he not quite there yet? Or when you look at Sonny, is he a guy where it's like we've got to find a starting role for him?
Yeah, I think when you look at the potential best 11 players, for the 2023 defense, I mean, he's a guy that our staff is going to point at and say, we need to find a way to get him in there. He held his own in the semifinal, and I think he's just got all kinds of skills. So, yeah, we got to experiment with him in different places, see what's best for Sonny and our defense, but he's definitely on our mind, and he will be all spring in terms of getting him into a position that's effective, for the defense.
Second row right, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Jim, I don't believe C.J. Hicks played a snap at linebacker last year. I guess when you look back on that, one, are you okay with how that played out? And then two, now, how does he slot into things in 2023? I guess similar to the Sonny question, like, is he a guy you feel like you got to find a role for this year?
C.J., great athlete, really good kid, good energy, good team guy. And I think that is worth saying, right? Because when you're 5-star and Mr. Everything, I think it's challenging to come into a top 5 program and not play right away. But he handled it really well. CJ's situation is different because there's a couple guys coming back. There's a lot of experience there. He plays in a position that's closer to the ball. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's some learning, in terms of all the schemes and all the different fits that you get as a linebacker. If you're up front, you're attacking, you can get in pretty early in your career. And if you're on that back end, you have space and distance and all that to figure it out. So I'm really just looking for improvement from CJ, not putting any pressure on him. I'm really just looking for him to improve this spring. I know he's going to have a great career, but I haven't put any kind of timeline on him yet.
You've explained the jack position in the past as something that can be maybe a little more simplified, still near the ball, but more simplified sort of existence. Could he potentially do some of that stuff in an effort to give him more?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I have thought about that for CJ because when directed, he's like skilled and he can get from point A to point B quickly. I don't know how much we'll be delving into the jack this spring, but I think it is something good to look at CJ for the fall. But we did not quite use the position as much as I had hoped last year. It just didn't seem to develop with our personnel. And so this spring I want to focus on the fundamentals, of our 4-down and really getting better at the fundamentals. But I see CJ as a candidate and Mitch Melton. And one of the reasons I'm not going to get into it this spring as much is because Mitch, who I thought had a real chance, like he's still coming off that injury and he won't be ready for camp. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Coach. Fourth row right, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Coach, actually just kind of off that on Mitch Melton. I mean, Ryan Day said he's just doing individual drills a lot this spring. What do you want to see from him as he comes back from the injuries?
Yeah, I want to see him back to where he was, right? So we moved him from linebacker to the front when I got here, and then started experimenting with him in the jack position. And he jumped out. He jumped out. He really did. To Coach Johnson, and to me, and things that he did. So I just want to see him back there. I want to see, okay, has he recovered completely? Is he healthy?
Second row right, Doug Lesmerises, Cleveland.com.
What does that mean for Jack Sawyer then?
Jack will be just, he'll be an end with JT, you know what I mean? And he'll work on all those fundamentals of being an end. I think that's important for Jack. I feel like he didn't have the improvement or the big jump that he could have last year. because he got involved in the jack stuff and maybe he wasn't as focused as he could have been to make those improvements at D end. So I want to make sure I keep him at D end opposite JT.
Over the shoulder, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim, I want to ask you about the quarterbacks. Devin Brown, Kyle McCord, obviously there's still not much to know about them, but you've seen plenty of them. What, I guess, maybe annoys you about them as a defensive coordinator? What do they do that gives defenses problems, each of them?
Devin can run around. Kyle manages the game really well. They both have their strengths, and in terms of reading defenses, I know this is going to be a big spring for them, but I don't have that much to say about them, except I think they're both very talented, and look forward to see how it goes this spring.
And your pick to start?
Next question.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Coach, you guys brought in Davison from Ole Miss, obviously got some experience in the SEC. What did you like about him, and specifically physically, he stands out. What can a corner like that bring that maybe you guys didn't have in that room?
Yeah, Davison looked good out there today, picking things up, but really just breaking on the ball. I mean, I liked his length. He has real length and got his hands on a lot of balls, and he was quick to mix it up too. I joke with him all the time. He's got that Jersey toughness, and he's got experience in the SEC. Played a lot of football. I just think he's going to bring a lot of competition to the position.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals.
Jim, has come out a couple times that Denzel has took this offseason pretty seriously. I don't know how much you've noticed of that. We know last year didn't go the way he wanted, certainly physically. What have you noticed from Denzel, either workouts or just day one today?
Great. It's a great observation. I think Denzel this offseason just stood out, man. I mean, it's just this physical development, the way he competed. We were talking about the yesterday as a defensive staff. I have the defensive staff go through a draft. I'm not giving out any of the results, but I have them go through a draft. And we kind of draft our team to kind of see, what our thoughts are on each player, and you can see where maybe somebody, drafted him high and somebody drafted him low, but Denzel came out great in that, and I think everybody has seen the offseason. And then today, he got his hands on more balls than maybe all last spring and camp together. So he just seems to be on point.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, bunch of questions, but I'll just give one. What is it like, though, to see Jahad Carter and Davison Igbinosun come in, in this new modern era, to give you an infusion? What does that mean for the defense, I guess? And just what do you think about those kind of things?
It is a different age. Times are changing. I mean, I like the fact that we're, the Ohio State. We don't participate in that arena very much. We're not turning over, 22 new guys or something that's going on. We can really be picky about the guys. And, you're talking about two starters at Power 5 programs that now come in with experience, and I think they give us great competition there. That's what we need in the back end. We need competition. We need guys fighting to play. We need guys competing against our offense, getting hands on balls. The next step and evolution of this defense really starts in the back end. We all know last year and how things went, and everywhere I've been, it's kind of taken me time to get the back end up to, having that confidence to compete. And you bring in two guys like that, and it just pushes the other guys see it, and they walk right in, and they're mature. and they're not messing around. You know, they're not a young guy coming in who's kind of feeling these guys aren't messing around, and it pushes everyone.
And is it important for those guys to, for one of another term, stir the drink as opposed to rock the boat? You understand what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, I do.
You sense that?
Yeah, you want guys who still want to be part of the team, and they're both like that. Yeah, when we interview them, that's exactly what we're interviewing for: maturity, for fit. Can they be a great teammate? And those guys have that.
Right next door, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you mentioned you didn't use the jack position as much maybe you thought you would last year. Can you get some context? I guess how much did you use it? Was it not as much? What did you kind of go in hoping for it, and ultimately kind of how did you feel about that? And
yeah, I thought. Going in, I thought over the course of the season we could, get it up to a third of the defense or 60-40. By the time I left Oklahoma State, it was almost exclusive. And I knew we wouldn't have that here. We're built more as a 4-down, and our front's pretty darn good. You know what I mean? So you don't want to mess with that too much. But I thought it could get up to be a third, and it just didn't. We weren't as productive out of it. You have to go with what works. So I don't know. Maybe it was 15%. Maybe it was half of what I had hoped it to be.
Is it still part of your long-term?
Still part of my long-term, absolutely, because I think we could get the best combo player in the country, when we target one. As you're moving down the road, we're Ohio State. That's a position that people don't have. We can target the best one and build towards that and work towards it.
Third row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, last year, Tommy and Steele basically played all the reps at linebacker. Do you envision it staying that way this year, or do you envision trying to rotate guys a little more?
Yeah, I definitely want to rotate them more. I think Cody Simon, with Tommy out this spring, Cody's going to have a big spring, and he's going to put himself in position to play regularly. That's my vision, so that we can have a really nice rotation there, which, when you're playing 14, 15 games, is going to help us at the end of the year. It really is. We need to get Cody to that point where he can play, and rotate with those two guys. And then, when you look at CJ and Gabe, the young guys, you're really looking at that leap from year one to year two. Can they show in the spring, like you said, that they're ready to play? You want those guys to force you to put them on the field by how well they play. But yeah, I'm definitely hopeful we can take some of the reps off of Tommy and Steele, because it'll help us in the end of the season.
Where does Reed Carrico fit in there?
Reed's bouncing around a little bit right now. We're trying him out some different positions. We have our Sam position against 12 personnel. He's kind of jumping around a little bit. We definitely want him to make a push on special teams, and we hope he shows up. And you're looking for him also, like Gabe and CJ, to show that they have to be on the field, show that maturity.
Right in front of him, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Targeting guys for that jack position, that combo type player. What position is that kid playing in high school right now where you're trying to target? Is he more of a defensive end like Joshua Mickens was? Is he, a linebacker? Is there like a style you're looking for when you're actually trying to recruit that position now?
No, I think it could, he could be a tailback, like the first one I ever had, who went on to be, the first round draft pick in the history of Western Michigan was Jason Babin, and he was a tailback in high school. So I think what you're looking for is someone who's just an extremely productive football player, but doesn't fit into anyone's mold. That guy who's just, the D-line coach says he's not big enough. The linebacker coach says he doesn't read well enough. Or the running back coach said, well, he's a really good player, but he's not, one of the top 3 running backs in the country. And I feel like eventually we'll have something to sell in that area.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, the last time we talked to you was, I think, early February, and you had just started the dissection process, I guess, of kind of what what faltered late in the year. Now that you've had that time to do it, kind of give your synopsis of what happened in those last 2 games.
You know, boy, you had to bring that up, didn't you?
And what you
I was feeling so good and positive, right? So you try to look at the things that worked, right? We try to, we do percentages in course of the season and the things that worked, and then you say, okay, how did those things fail? Or I look at myself and my calls and how I can kind of change a little bit early on, so that the matchup games, those areas where we let down in one-on-one matchups that were costly, I need to find ways to protect our guys better. But I can't do that like just that week. I think I have to have more of a bigger view, So some of the things that I'm going to put in camp, spring, are geared now more to those matchup games, to avoid those situations where, one error is costly to our defense, and then I have to preach the competition against our offense, because we got a great offense. I feel like I was last year more into the teaching aspect of it to make sure that we got it, understood it, and but now we understand it. I need to ramp up the accountability for competing in practice, one-on-one in all those spots, because every practice for us is like a matchup game, right? These big matchup games. We need to perform better in practice against our offense, and treat that as our practice for when we get to the matchup games.
Coach, thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up from there. Sorry, folks.
Thanks, guys.